Hello, my name is Matthew, and about a week ago, my good friend Ben had his first rock show in over a year because of COVID and the lockdowns and safety measures. There had been no live music, no performances at all, and uh, a few months ago, there was an announcement that his band, Ashes Remain, was going to be playing their first show in a very long time at one of the local hotspot venues in our area, the Wrecker Theater. And it was exciting news. Everybody was happy about it. Ben was thrilled. I was thrilled for him. The way that the tickets were being sold was a little bit unusual because of current safety protocols. They were going to uh, be selling tables of tickets instead of individual tickets, and then um, the area of the venue, instead of being standing room only, would have um, rows of tables that people could sit down at their own party and enjoy a rock show. And a few weeks before the show, um, safety protocols had changed a little bit, gotten a little bit more lenient, and Ben said to me that if I would like, I could go to the show. He wasn't able to have a ticket for me, and wasn't in a position to be buying tickets for a table. Also, they were having two shows. They were going to have like an 8 o'clock show and then an 11 o'clock show. And I wake up for work. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So an 8 o'clock show is around the time where I'm starting to get ready for bed. And so, I thank Ben. I say, I hope you have a great show. Everything's gonna be fantastic. I'm not gonna start watching a show uh, at 8 o'clock at night. I need to be home. But I did say that I had the day off that day. I had to work the next day, but I had that day off. And I said, I can go to the restaurant. There's a restaurant right next door, owned by the same place, same people. I said I can go down early, maybe get some dinner, and maybe see you before the show. And that was a agreed upon, good idea. And it's about an hour away from where I live. And I looked up an old used bookstore that I used to frequent quite often when I was closer to that area. It was called Ukazu Books. When I remembered it, it was on Delaney Valley Road across from the big shopping mall. And I looked it up, and the business still exists, but it had changed locations, so it's going to be in this new place. I had to use um, my smartphone directions to get me there. Um, so I thought I would do a couple errands, go to this old bookstore, um, go to the restaurant, see Ben, all of that, and still at home and in bed by 8 o'clock. And so I go to Ukazu Books, and it's their new location. Really disappointing. It was still open, but it was maybe a fifth of the size that it used to be. It used to be this cavernous warehouse. It was this huge store with just endless rows of books, and it was like a maze. All of these little rooms, and um, it was really nice. They had little chairs and all sorts of different sections, and they had a buy three get a fourth book free deal. Um, the new location was teeny tiny, which is fine, but they couldn't even fill the shelves. There was a whole corner that was still not just empty shelves, but empty cases. And I was the only person in the store. The book clerk is watching YouTube videos, not even booktube videos. Um, and I went over to the fiction section, which is where I'm typically drawn towards. And I'm going down the wall and kind of feeling like I'm not recognizing anything. There's nothing that I'm pulling off the shelf to further investigate. And I wander around a little bit more, and I find they have a classics section. So all the kinds of books that I'm more likely to be interested in, just for my own tastes. Um, Still, a really small section, maybe half the size of just one of my shelves or bookcases. Um, and I asked about a poetry section, which was really just two shelves. It was two of these size shelves, not full. All that being said, I found four books that I was really happy about, and I'll start with a curiosity. This is a really strange book. It's Marcel Proust, and it's Swan in Love. So it's an Oxford white spine paperback. And what's really strange to me is this is a chapter within the whole of Remembrance of Things Past. It's novella length. It's a self-contained story, but to me it's very unusual. There's only one other example I can think of a chapter excised out of a book and then published on its own. The other example that I've seen before is the Grand Inquisitor from Dostoevsky's novel, The Karamazov Brothers. But I'm really excited about this for a few reasons. One, it's a translation that I haven't read before. I've read the Moncrief translation of Swan's Way and the Lydia Davis translation as well. So this is translated by Brian Nelson. That's going to be interesting. Also, I've never read it just on its own. So without the context of what goes on before and after the wider scope of the book. And Proust is an author that I like, and is an author that's fairly widely regarded as one of the great writers of the 20th century, certainly one of the great French writers of the 20th century. And the few times that I've had personal conversations, there's that question of where do you start with Proust? How do you go about reading him? Because you hear Proust and somebody might say, well, Proust is amazing. And you say, well, what do I read? And in the broad terms, he only has one book that's 10,000 pages long. So how do you? Of course, you would say, well, start with Swan's Way, and if you like it, just keep going. If you don't like it, you got a really good representative taste of what the book's going to be like. Nothing's going to change. But this thing's maybe 150 pages, less than 200 pages, and not only am I looking forward to reading it, I'm looking forward to making a video, if I like it, to be able to say, if you're interested in reading Proust, here's a good start. And it's a tidy, handy, manageable sized sampling. So that'll be fun. That's the only part of the classics section that I really was interested in. Then I moved on to their really, really small poetry section, and found three books that I am so excited about. So this is an amazing set of the Fagles translation of Homer's works, the Iliad and the Odyssey, and these Viking press editions. Just really handsome, uh, sturdily bound, big, beautiful books. And Homer's one of those authors that it's nice to have really good looking copies. One, they look good on your shelf, but it's an author that I am going to want to read for the rest of my life. And so that's exciting. I have my read along, my little book club coming up with Steve for the Odyssey in August, and we just read the Iliad in June. So just what a wonderful thing to have unread, just perfect, pristine. One of the risks or worries that you might have at a used bookstore for classics like Proust or Homer is that they're going to have highlighting or marks all over them, notes, and just be too garbled up with marring to be able to read, let alone purchase. And these are pristine. I don't even think they've ever been read. So, very exciting. And then the last book that I found is something that I was just kind of looking around online within a month, and it's the Aeneid by Virgil, but the John Dryden translation. And this is it's a wonderful little Penguin classic. And the reason that I bought all of these is because it was used bookstore prices. So these things were very affordable. And something like this, which I did find online, I could have ordered it, but when I asked myself, like, am I going to be reading it in the very near future? And I'm not really sure. It was something that I thought, well, I want it. I want it part of my library. And I have to stop myself when I have that feeling online and say, like, you don't really have a budget to just be amassing a library. If I want to read it, I'll buy anything that I want to read. But being able to find this at a used bookstore at a much significantly cheaper price, I just scooped it up. And since I was buying 4, they had the buy 3 get 1 free deal also. And so, and again, this thing is unread. And I was thinking, because the store is in a university town of sorts. There's Towson University and Goucher University and a handful of other colleges right in the immediate area. And you kind of run the risk of having these things having just completely full of annotations or bought by students for some class where they don't even read the book. And of course I don't know, but that's what comes to mind. Like, who wants to read who wants to read the John Dryden translation of the Aeneid? But I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping, I would love for Steve Donahue and I to read the Aeneid, if we could, by the end of the year. I think it would be amazing to have a book club where, among all the other things that we can read, we can also be reading the Iliad and the Odyssey and the Aeneid for fun. So we'll see about that. But yeah, so I'll do this thing. Swan in Love by Proust, the Aeneid by Virgil, translated by Dryden, and the Odyssey and the Iliad, translated by Robert Fagles. So, a little bit of a story. Um, Talked about some books. Talked about a used bookstore. Um, Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment if you would like. And thank you for watching, and take care.